Robert Mason. I'm also with CH2M Hill. I'm the program director for the environmental analysis and the CEQA documentation for this project. I'm going to speak quickly this morning in terms of a relationship of open space in relationship to the project and consistency with the general plan. The MND addresses this in full. It addresses the requirements under the County General Plan, Conservation and Open Space Element Policy 7, which requires the preservation of significant ecological areas and habitat management areas. Also, the Antelope Valley Area-Wide General Plan, Policy Statement 69, regarding the protection of significant vegetation such as Joshua trees, and also Policy Statement 123 of the Antelope Valley General Plan regarding preservation of the SEAs in the Antelope Valley. As this figure shows, the project does not encroach upon the SEAs. The transmission line, which is underground, which runs from the substation north along 210th, borders the SEA, but it is not encroaching upon it. And then the eastern parcel of the property also borders up against the SEA, but does not encroach upon the SEA. The MND found that there's no significant impacts from the projects or on a cumulative basis to open space, and found no significant impacts from the project on the County General Plan or the Antelope Valley Area General Plan. Are there any questions?
Sure.
Madam Chair, thank you. Taking individual projects one at a time, certainly we can make the statement that there are no significant impacts. But if we take and look at other solar projects, and I'm only familiar with two, which I'm disappointed that I don't know more about what's the plan in this general area. And so maybe I'm asking staff if they would have a map that shows the potential for solar and alternative energy and commercial materials in this area. So are we taking up all of those areas around the SEAs, or are we taking areas that are just, well, if we go to, can we decrease the size of that map just a little bit, please?
Yeah,
pick off that. I saw you pick off a plus and go. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. I know that we had a solar project coming into this area in here that is, I think, also on the map or on the board for consideration. And this is not necessarily just a question the current speaker, but to staff for general impact, and maybe our biologists can relate to that also from staff, if you could.
Yes, a couple of responses for you. We do have a map of all existing renewable energy projects that we could make available to you. But Anthony Kersey of staff, who dealt with the environmental review of this project, notes that all existing submitted renewable projects were considered in the MND. So the cumulative impacts have been considered.
With the other projects?
Correct, with all projects that had been submitted at the time of the MND. Advanced planning is working on zones, desirable zones for renewable energy. Nothing has been adopted yet, but they are working on some things that you will see in the near future.
Does that tell me that I should hold off my decision until the near future?
No, I don't think that you could use that to hold off in the future, since all of the cumulative impacts have been assessed in the MND.
Okay.
Can I just add here, and this is not for your project, this is something just overall, and I think the Antelope Valley and the various open areas that we have in North County are very precious to us. We've been given a stewardship, and we're fortunate in Los Angeles County to be responsible for so much open space in a county which is heavily populated. And as a result of that, this has brought forward, your project and several others, has brought forward to me a concern and a desire to have both advanced planning and current planning work together on this issue of the cumulative effect of alternative energy, not just alternative energy, but also additional commercial projects. I don't know if you're aware, but we recently had a racetrack proposed out in this area, commercial and residential, on the open space that we're dealing with out in the valley. So it would be proposed, existing, submitted, and those that we know about through rumor and innuendo, which are also available as sources of information out in the community. So that's not for you. It's something that I think that I'm going to concur with Commissioner Helsley that I think we need to see soon, because our president has given us, and obviously the current issues that we see occurring in the world will only expedite and add additional pressure with respect to sources of alternative energy, and we want to make good decisions with a map and with a plan as we go forward and try to meet the needs of our community for alternative energy. So that being said, we can go back to this case and move on. Commissioner Halsey?
One of the things that brings this to my mind is that having been up in the Carrizo Plain for a week, removing barbed wire for the antelope up there, there was an opportunity to talk to a biologist that deals with kangaroo rats. And to get kangaroo rats from one of those crosshatched areas to another crosshatched area, safety zone, becomes a real task. A real arduous task for that animal. And so where we don't provide corridors, it becomes, and this is not just to your project, but it becomes a problem. So it's a concern as we start looking at trying to make this as livable for the wildlife as it is hopefully going to be livable for man, is a balancing act. And I appreciate the orange square. I'm not sure what the red position is yet because you haven't told me yet, but I suspect that will be forthcoming.
Any other questions?
No.
I just have one question for you. How many jobs, you mentioned job potential during construction, how many permanent jobs are there during the actual operation of this facility?
This is Ray Kelly again. It's probably more appropriate for me to respond to that. We're looking at 2 to 3 permanent jobs for the facility for operations, but we're looking at a lot of contract work that will go along with operating the facility that will come from the local area.
How are these panels going to be cleaned? What do you use to clean the panel?
But we have not selected the technology yet for this facility, but our understanding from talking to the different vendors is just pressurized water is the way to clean it. There's not, my understanding is there's no chemicals or additives or agents. It's just basically blowing any kind of residue off of water.
Okay, well I have concerns with respect to that. I think that maybe I can work with staff if we go forward with this to put a condition in here having to deal with the cleaning methods and any chemicals that you're going to be using on site, and that may be already in our mitigation measures, but they are very they have to be maintained clean, and you know that, and for their efficiency factor, et cetera. And there are firms that do use chemicals for that and other solvents when pressurized water does not work. So maybe that's something that I'll discuss with staff, because you don't know right now exactly what you assume pressurized water. I don't want to hold you to pressurized water if that doesn't work for you. So I'm going to assume that we have that as an open issue.
I'm not prepared to talk about that right now.
Okay,
I haven't
that's fine.
really thought about it.
Okay,
to be honest.
that's fine. That's what I'm saying. We're going to presume that that's an open issue. Okay? I may have another question for you. Just one other question on that open space area. There isn't in the north part of the site, on the other side of a waterway or something, there's a large open area that you're not developing at this time, where you're going to be doing the habitat on one corner. On the other part, is that just going to remain open and open space, or is that going to be used? Or
For right now, you're correct. We're not planning on developing that northern portion of the property. In fact, there may be some places south of the drainage that we don't end up developing. We are going to be doing the burrowing owl in that area. We may look at other habitat restoration projects in the future for that property.
would we be able to put into, is that something that we currently have as open space, and I'm assuming the Exhibit A would show that as open space and not being able to be used for anything without our approval?
Yeah, the Exhibit A shows it as open space, and if the commission provides a condition, we can require that it remain open space.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Mr.
a interesting observation, I think, on this photograph. Are these large poppy fields?
I do not know.
They are orange in color. They correspond to a portion of the poppy fields that were visualized in this area. But this is a very heavy poppy field, if that is what it is, at that location and certainly over in here. Just a question.
Perhaps we can ask the environmental review person from staff when if you don't have any more questions for them. Okay.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Valdez, if I might add, I was just informed that in the M&D, we described our cleaning as to just be water. So that's what we've described, and that's what we'll commit to.
Okay.
So at that point, the water will drain to Edwards Air Force Base. The dry lake there is where it eventually ends up.
I mean, we'll be using such a small amount of water, I don't know that it's going to form any kind of drainage off the site. It's just a minimal amount of water.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Commissioners, if you're interested, we have a map. We brought down the map that shows the various pending.
No, I think we're just going to move forward now. I think
Okay.
we're
The other thing I'd like to just clarify with the one of the statements that you made and one of the questions you had regarding the SEA and this project's proximity to the SEA. Just to be clear, we did, in the environmental document, analysis was conducted of the proximity with the SEA, so that was addressed in the environmental document. And also it's worth noting that the proposed SEAs do increase the area significantly if those areas are adopted, it would increase the area of SEA significantly in that area. So the preservation of habitat would be covered under that, and any new ordinance that's adopted with the proposed SEA.
The question then arises, what portion of this site is in a proposed SEA?
There isn't any portion of this site that's in a proposed SEA. It would
Okay.
be outside of that.
Okay, thank you. Very helpful.
Commissioners, if I may, this is John McKenzie. I wanted to respond to you.
Sorry, but we generally, when we're going through this, we give each person who's testifying 3 minutes, and unless there's a question.
I wanted to respond to one of your questions.
Okay.
You made the comment about the use of the
I
northwest
think
area.
you started with his name, but could you give your name again?
John McKenzie.
Yes.
You made a comment about preserving or future uses of the northwestern area of that western parcel, and what I wanted to point out is that this project doesn't authorize any of those other uses. There's a specific amount of megawatts that are authorized, so when the owner or controller of that property wants to do something else on that property, they would have to come back and submit the proper permit applications. And so you would have control over.
Yes, thank you very much. I discussed that with staff, and I was aware of that. Thank you. Thank you. Now, I believe we may have other
Yes, we
speakers.
do.